We are Steel Magnolias, two sisters who love family, traditions, and all things Southern.
We've got plenty of room at our table, so pull up a chair.
Merry Christmas from the Steel Magnolias. Oh, what joy it is to be with you on this special occasion. You're probably among friends and family, or maybe you are hiding away and trying to get some quiet and solace to yourself. But we are overjoyed to be celebrating this special occasion. And in fact, Lainie, we love giving gifts. So I brought you a little something special today.
How sweet.
I know we'll have more of our time with family and friends in the coming hours, I guess, if you will. But just wanted to bring you a little nugget.
It is so sparkly and beautiful to my fellow Steel Magnolia. How sweet. Well, you guys are going to...
I saw this, thought of you. You will quickly see why I thought of you.
This is so cool. American South Field Guides.
Yeah, so this is a series that the Field Guide series doesn't just do a broad American South. They do it by city. So Nashville has a field guide. Charleston has a field guide.
Very cool.
It's such a cool book. It gives you all sorts of little nuggets. It's like pocket size.
Yes.
And
got a map in the back of the South. This is super cool.
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it because even though we love the South, we talk about the South here on our podcast and just in life, there's always so much more to learn. So
always.
I thought you would enjoy
this is great.
Some of the fun facts. It goes by state. A lot of
this is going to be a gift to everyone because it's going to cause me to dive in some directions I didn't know to dive into.
True.
So this is great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, one of the things I was
wonderful.
Surprised in, we'll talk about on a future episode, there were some states that have mottos. I don't know. Didn't know that. So on a future episode, we'll want to dive in to some of those state mottos because there was some funny ones in there. But yeah, there's a plethora of information, and if any of our listeners are just wanting some reading for the new year, those field guides would be something that would be very very easy, quick read. You could put it down. You know, if you're a nighttime reader and you like to just read a couple of pages.
Yeah, I love it. I love the size too because you really could travel with this.
Absolutely,
it's so lightweight.
Yeah,
so very cool. Thanks.
Yeah, so that's available everywhere that books are sold, probably.
All right.
Well, hey, imagine and think about the anticipation and the excitement that families, children feel as they're watching the Macy's Day Parade and they're awaiting the celebrity of all celebrities, Santa Claus.
At the end of the parade, that's right.
So I wanted to share a little different perspective or way that Santa arrives at a very special area of the South. I wanted to tell everybody, we wanted to share about the Santa Train.
Yes.
And the Santa Train is a train that travels 110 miles every year from Pikeville, Kentucky to Kingsport, Tennessee. Kingsport's part of the Tri-Cities area.
That's right.
And the point of the train is to bring Christmas gifts to a very underserved area of Appalachia. So the 110 miles spans Kentucky,
Virginia,
and Tennessee. Yeah. All three of those states get touched in this 110 mile range. And I don't know what it is about trains and Christmas, but they seem to go hand in hand.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
I've always wanted one to go around the tree. Mom and I have talked about
a lot of people
go around the tree, and
do that as part of their decor. You think about movies like the Polar Express. Obviously, that's centered around train, but even like White Christmas, there's lots of train scenes.
That's true.
I don't know. There's just something that connects well and seems nostalgic, yet just I don't know, just seasonal and wonderful about trains. And so
this has been going like 76 years.
76 years. It's actually funded by different organizations and businesses in that area, and I think even across the country.
Namely CSX Railroad, though, right? Okay.
Yes. And my perception of the Santa Train was that it was a way to distribute gifts to just a very poor community. There may be some,
I'm sure that is an
very
aspect of that.
Economically challenged families that do receive gifts from this. But the way it actually started, and I just learned this, was that the coal mines and the people that lived in this area so that they could work in the coal mines. I mean, the coal fields is the main employer of this area, or was 76 years ago when this started. Those families did not have access to stores.
No shopping malls.
Certainly no Amazon. But no retailers, no big box stores, hardly any, even you'd think of like a general store. I mean, there's just not much available for them to even purchase from. And so the idea was, let's send a train through the area, throw out gifts from the train, and that way those, families and people that live in the area can have access to something. So it's really a way to thank the people of the area for the work
even living
that they
there.
do, for the rural, for being willing to live in such a rural countryside.
Yeah.
And it's just such a cool picture of the character of Appalachia. Like, I think of Dolly Parton when I think of Appalachia. Yeah. She's certainly done a ton to give back to that community, since that's where she was raised and lived and still lives. But, they bring on celebrities on board sometimes. I saw pictures of Winona Judd and Ricky Skaggs. And,
that's awesome.
But it's definitely a draw for this community.
Sure.
They don't just...
And do they
stay moving? Like, it's not
that's
literally
what I was
just
say.
like
there's certain cities where it makes the stop.
It does. Yeah. And I don't know what those are, but, there's certainly the word gets out of like a stopping point.
Okay.
And they're looking to give gifts that make sense. Like, I saw volunteers walking through the crowd with like new children's coats, and they were holding it up like size wise, like so it's not just a random blanket.
Is this a school child that needs a new backpack full of stuff?
Exactly.
That kind of thing.
So anyway,
that's
how cool of this probably always takes place like mid-November. Okay. So it didn't happen today. It happened.
It'd be so fun to volunteer for that.
I know.
I don't know if that's possible.
I would just love to see it. I'd love to just see it in
we
action.
have some of our favorite people on the planet are from Kingsport,
that's
so maybe
true.
We could make that happen.
You know who you are.
That's
yes,
right.
That's very true. Yeah. So the the season just, I think, really gets kicked off really well with the Santa Train,
cool.
and
very cool.
We wanted to share that because I think it just really shows the true character of Southern giving and just embracing those that work in hard places and live in hard places. Yeah. So anyway, we wanted to also chat a little bit about something that we love.
Something we love. Breakfast in the South.
Yes. Oh, so good.
Such an important meal. And I would even say, a lot of the South, there was a lot of farming going on in times of old. And so breakfast is a very important meal if you're going to be doing that kind of hard work. So I have said many times in my life something that I think is so funny, and that is it's not breakfast in the South unless a pig has died.
That's true.
So, sorry, I'm an animal lover, and if you're, on PETA and you think I'm terrible, sorry, but...
Vegetarians can be Southerners, but it's got to be hard.
It's got to be hard.
Or Southerners can be vegetarians.
That's
I guess
true.
Is how
That's
I should
true.
say that.
We eat a lot of pork in the South.
We're pork heavy people.
Bacon, sausage. If it's pork, we do eat it even for breakfast.
Incorporate it into different recipes and
That's right. So I would say that's right. I would say that is a definite part of a traditional breakfast in the South is going to have some kind of pork in it.
And I'm reaching for a cup of coffee.
Oh,
because
we're coffee drinkers.
We're drinking coffee even as we drink as we record this. And I just really think that coffee is a non-negotiable with a Southern breakfast.
Yeah.
You may have your orange juice on the table, or
in addition to,
but
typically,
coffee is a non-negotiable, and we're known for sweet tea drinking. Yeah. That's not going to be served at breakfast.
Yeah.
In fact, I would even probably go as far as to say a stereotype would be hot tea would probably even be put off till later in the day, like an afternoon tea. Yeah. But coffee is going to be
breakfast must have.
Yeah. So definitely, however you take your coffee, that's up to you.
It varies, but
a brewed pot of coffee needs to be part of the breakfast.
And I would say before I go any further, because this is nationwide, Cracker Barrel started in the Nashville area and is, I think, a good snapshot of a traditional Southern breakfast. I know that it varies even by region, but that gives you an idea if you are from elsewhere and have eaten at a Cracker Barrel. What's that menu?
Served all day.
Yeah,
for a reason.
Served all day. That's right.
Because it's that good. You could eat breakfast at any hour of the day that Cracker Barrel's open.
It's that good. So there's a few things that are not specifically Southern that I would mention are in Southern breakfast, and that's eggs served a variety of ways. Fried, scrambled, poached.
Quick question for you.
Yes.
Have you ever cooked your eggs in a cast iron skillet?
Oh, absolutely.
Would that be your preference?
I have another skillet I like too for my eggs, but if your cast iron skillet is well seasoned, it is great.
Yeah.
Because the eggs won't stick, and it gets that flavor. We've talked about the seasoning. You don't ever scrub down this. It's continually getting seasoned.
Right.
And so things just taste better. There's a reason.
Okay. I didn't know if you were.
I do like that.
Always prone to cook in the cast iron. Okay. Go ahead.
So I must mention biscuits and gravy.
Absolutely.
That is very popular in the South for breakfast.
Yeah. Biscuits in general, I would say, even with a jam or jelly, but biscuits and gravy, that's as Southern. In fact, I think of a couple that I know that lived in East Tennessee in the Knoxville area that a couple of years ago moved to Orange County, California.
Okay.
Ordered biscuits and gravy when they were out for breakfast. I think they had to describe it to the waiter, or there was some confusion because I guess that was off menu.
Yeah.
But they said they could do it, brought it out to their table, 2 biscuits with a boat of brown gravy.
Oh, yeah. That sounds horrible.
That is not what we're talking about here.
We're not talking gravy boat of Thanksgiving turkey gravy. That's not at all what we're talking about.
I would love to have seen their face.
That's awesome. I even know who you're talking about. That's so funny. Well, no, I'm talking, since we mentioned cooking pork, this is typically you've in your skillet, you've made your sausage or you've made your bacon. Now we have this fat.
Yes.
We've taken the meat out, the pork out, but we've got this fat. And so you're making a gravy, adding your flour into this fat.
Yeah.
And making what most people would call a sawmill gravy.
Right. And I think a sawmill gravy also usually includes some type of cornmeal.
Okay.
Yeah. Even just to give it that thickness.
Yeah.
So I looked up, because I was thinking about what we were going to be talking about today. I looked up, I use that term all the time, sawmill gravy, but why is it sawmill gravy?
Why is it called that?
Does that have anything to do with anything? It does. So I guess during the early years, logging camps, think about lumberjack logging camps, that they were, there were cooks that would prepare breakfast at those camps. I mean, because this is probably an all day of work, and so
hard work. So you need hearty food.
You need very hearty food. So
cheaply, because we're poor.
That's true.
A lot of our food came out of poverty as well.
Absolutely. So one of the common foods was gravy made from coarsely ground cornmeal.
Okay.
So they, I guess
that in there.
The original sawmill gravy would definitely have, but I just thought this was funny. So really the gravy name comes from the fact that these men worked at a sawmill.
Okay.
And sometimes when the gravy would be coarse and thick, the lumberjacks would accuse the cooks of substituting
throwing sawdust in
sawdust of cornmeal.
That's awesome.
That's Sawmill Gravy.
I've never heard that.
So I mean, it's your bacon drippings or your fat, your cornmeal, some milk and probably some salt and pepper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I make mine with flour more.
Yeah.
Just with flour.
Yeah.
But so yeah. And then I put my sausage back in there,
Yes.
So it's sausage gravy, but so good.
So good.
Yeah.
And I have heard too, when you're, if you are making your biscuits from scratch, I've heard to look for less bleached flour. Yeah. So like a White Lily is a really good brand. So, it usually says on the packaging, it describes it as bleached. And so you're looking for something that's a little less bleached.
I do have a recipe that's super easy. I'll just say it.
Okay.
Because it's so easy. It's called 4-3-2-1 biscuits. So it's 4 tablespoons of shortening, 3 teaspoons of baking powder, 2 cups of all-purpose, this mentions Martha White or White Lily flour.
Okay.
1 teaspoon of salt, and 1 cup of buttermilk. So you heat the oven to 400. In a large bowl, you're going to cut the shortening into the flour, add those other dry ingredients, mix well, and then you add the buttermilk and knead it. A few times, not too much, is important.
Okay.
And then you're going to roll that out no less than 1 inch thick and cut the dough into round biscuits.
Yeah.
Bake for 10 to 15 minutes on an ungreased cookie sheet. So that's kind of an easy 4-3-2-1.
I'll put that up on our Instagram. If you're not following us, look for us at Steel Magnolias Podcast, because we do put some of the stuff we talk about up there. And a good biscuit cutter is kind of necessary, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you're trying to shape it by hand.
Some people use have you ever heard of using a mason jar, just the lid? Like,
no,
people are
but that's
resourceful.
perfect.
You can use the lid of the mason jar
just
if you
the rim.
need to.
Yeah, just the metal rim.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
We're very, very resourceeful in the South. But those are going to be large ones. I have some cutters that are different sizes. That's going to be a pretty good size biscuit. But
but if you're cutting it open and serving it open face with gravy,
with your gravy you
on
want
top, that really doesn't even matter.
That's right. So that's a big part of breakfast in the South. I would say another couple things that are important. Grits are very popular in the South. There's I love those stone ground grits that are not the instant ones, but the stone ground ones. But grits. Grits
in general with a breakfast are pretty bland, though, right? I mean, I just feel like I haven't really given grits enough of a chance.
So people go in a couple of directions. A lot of people will do a little butter and sugar to make them sweet.
Like a brown sugar?
You could do brown, but I've seen people just straight white sugar.
Okay.
And then you can also do savory grits that are, have cheese.
I would go that route.
Smoked Gouda up in there.
That's what
very nice.
Because I do enjoy shrimp and grits.
Yeah.
Which is going to bleed flavor from the shrimp and spices that it's been cooked with.
Yeah.
So I could go
like
savory.
A savory route.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that's interesting about grits, you're often making a pot of grits.
Sure.
And, for me, it's just one person. So now I've made this pot and I'm eating and I've got a lot left over.
Yeah.
So I have seen people even, once you put that in the refrigerator, it kind of gets real solid.
Yes.
And so then they'll make cakes out of it. Like little, and then you can just kind of fry it to make it hot again, just a little bit to make like a little.
That's a great idea.
Kind of a cake with your leftover grits and eat on it all week.
Repurposes it and gives it a different flavor too. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's another thing. Now, obviously, regionally, we're going to have lots of variety in foods.
Yeah.
One of the best cities for food in the South is New Orleans.
Yes.
And they have their own
They've got their own
special
flair.
things of food.
Yeah.
I saw a wonderful documentary on Netflix called Commanding the Table.
Okay.
It was all about Ella Brennan, who was in the Brennan family of that famous restaurant Brennan's.
Yeah.
I had been to their restaurant that was in Atlanta, but they're known for being out of New Orleans.
So Brennan's is where what's his name came out of?
Emerald. Yes.
So that's probably if people don't know Brennan's, they'll at least know his name. Yeah.
Yeah. And now he's got his own stuff going in the South. But anyhow, This woman, Ella Brennan, was quite a brilliant entrepreneur.
Okay.
She came up with Bananas Foster, which many people know as a wonderful dessert.
Yes.
But I've seen on many menus Bananas Foster French toast.
Okay, which makes sense because it's already sweet. Why not put it on some French toast or pancakes? Yeah. I think I've seen it on pancakes.
Yeah, so that's something that you might see in a menu on the South. And we have a lot of pecans, so people are going to throw that in
talking
on their
about
French toast. And one other thing I thought was so cool about that Ella Brennan, she came up with the idea of a jazz brunch, which lots of places have jazz brunch, but that was her idea.
Okay.
Of bringing the jazz of New Orleans into the restaurant to entertain her eaters.
Wow. Probably makes them stay a little longer, drink a few more mimosas.
That's right. Or Bloody Marys. That's right. So, yeah.
That was smart.
Very smart lady. So that's something you might see. Beignets are very popular in a French influence place like Café du Monde, and they're wonderful strong coffee and beignets. And
so there is a Southern chain called Holler and Dash.
Yes.
I believe it may even be out of the Cracker Barrel family. It's somehow...
I think it was a guy that started it, and then Cracker Barrel got on board.
Okay.
It's a small franchise, I think, now.
There's Birmingham, Nashville. I don't know what other cities have it, but...
little fancier shishi.
They do beignets
and
very well.
Okay.
So if you can't get to New Orleans and you're close to a Holler and Dash... Definitely try their beignets.
Sounds
they
good.
Are over the top. So good.
Yeah, and a few other things I had down for breakfast in the South. You may see chicken and waffles. I know that's not a exclusively Southern thing, but definitely something you might see more on a brunch menu maybe than a true breakfast. Cornbread and buttermilk. This is something I don't like.
Yes.
But our mom
literally
crumbling up cornbread in buttermilk.
Into a cup of, like a glass of buttermilk.
Yes. That's something you may see somebody eat.
Yeah, as a young child, I can almost still taste how vivid this memory is, but I didn't know that buttermilk, like what that was. And so as a young child, I saw a gallon of milk in the fridge and poured me a glass and took a big
swig. It was so thick
swig.
You didn't know. Did you think, this is really thick?
I don't know.
Okay.
You know, I mean, when you're young, maybe you're just not paying attention.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're
just
ready
totally
to get
oblivious. But I did not notice anything different until I took a huge gulp, and I think I spit it out. I mean,
that sounds very traumatic.
Awful to not realize. I mean, I'm
so grateful for buttermilk when I'm frying chicken or, making certain recipes, but I don't drink it. I can't drink it.
But there are some, that love that and that would definitely put some cornbread down in that.
You'll see greens served in various ways in breakfast.
we do
collards,
get our greens
mustard greens. Yeah, so we definitely do. That's on the side now of some other gravy and
to entertain our vegetarian friends. We'll throw in some greens.
They're probably fried in bacon fat, but
that's
or have a hog jaw in there.
Cracker Barrel, they're definitely fried in bacon.
Right. And then I would say also, we have some lovely fruit, especially obviously in the summer, peaches, lots of berries.
Seasonal.
And you'll see that incorporated in breakfast with, in a variety of ways on your
peach
pancakes.
Parfait.
People put that on their oatmeal or their yogurt.
That's true. I love berries.
Yeah.
I mean, the farmer's market is just more fun, I feel like, in the
summer. Absolutely. With tomatoes. And, you would see that. Just cut up tomatoes next to eggs for breakfast.
That's very true.
People do that all the time here.
Just sprinkle a little salt on it, cut right into it.
That's right.
I wouldn't probably do that, but I've definitely seen that on a Southern breakfast table.
That's right. Just sliced tomatoes.
Yeah. You know what we should mention?
What's that?
We mentioned sausage gravy with your biscuits, but in our family, if you were just having a sausage patty on a biscuit,
you had mustard on there.
You would definitely,
yellow mustard, not fancy mustard.
No, just your basic yellow mustard, French's, whatever brand you like. Yeah, it just, that tartness with the sausage
is a wonderful addition.
It just brings out all the good flavor.
And the only other thing I had jotted down was sorghum. You would see that possibly instead of maple syrup, or as, we use sorghum in different ways as sweeteners. And but that's something I think is more Southern.
Yeah, sorghum it's like a molasses. Like, I think in the grocery store, it would actually be near the honey.
Honey and molasses, yeah.
I guess it depends on the store. But sorghum is, it's just a thick syrup. It's, the reason I think it's popular in the South is it was a less expensive sweetener.
Okay.
We've
a lot of our things were because of that
reason. A few times, yeah. Resources were limited, and probably still are in many areas. And so, the sort of the different, what am I trying to say? Different chefs, I would say, really love this. I've seen Sean Brock and
Edward
you
Lee.
Mentioned Edward Lee, that they love this because, it adds a lot of, like, what they would say it's depth to what you're cooking, even more so than honey. And it's just a cereal grain. It grows tall like a corn, if you've ever seen, like, cornfields. Imagine the
how
height.
Tall that is.
And so, it's harvested in really dry areas. It's actually from Africa. And so you'll still see it, if you are traveling over there, you would see it, prevalently over there. But it's a popular crop here as well, but it's used for more than just a sweetener. Like, it can be used as livestock feed.
We have a lot of things that are sometimes used as that too.
Yeah. And so, anyway, and I think it's even making its way into, like, the gluten-free market, which is very popular because, I don't know. I now I'm getting into over my head, but anyway, sorghum is definitely a good sweetener that is a little different than honey or
so
molasses.
Maybe you just get some and try it with the recipes you're already doing.
Yeah.
Just to try a little something different if you want to experiment. But,
yeah.
And that's just scratching the surface of breakfast in the South, but I think that kind of gives a snapshot. Obviously, different regions do different things. We mentioned red-eye gravy before.
Yeah.
There's lots of different things you might see, but that gives you a kind of a snapshot.
Well, and a lot of this that we're talking about, it does take some prep work. So I'm even thinking through, like, if you've got guests over, you probably aren't going to want to be up at the crack of dawn, cutting out handmade biscuits. Mm-hmm. But one of the best ways, I think, to have a Southern breakfast ready for guests is a breakfast casserole.
Oh, throw it all in one dish.
You throw it all in one dish.
The night before.
So this would be eggs, cheese. I usually make it with sausage. You're pinching and crumbling up like a white French baguette sort of bread.
Sourdough or something.
To absorb the egg. Some salt and pepper. But you would let
it's hearty and it's quick.
Yeah,
if
you
it's
would
already
let this,
mixed up the night before.
Just, let it set overnight. That's a must. Like, you can't.
Yeah, because that the egg's got to soak up in the bread.
You do have to prepare in advance, but it allows you to have something already ready that can be baked. It usually takes like an hour or so to bake.
Yeah, so
that frees you up.
Set that coffee pot to make the coffee,
to visit
stick
with
that
your
in the
guests.
oven, and then you get to visit.
Yeah, and I think even there's a lot of tradition around Christmas breakfast casseroles.
Sure.
Like, we do that in our family.
Yeah.
There's recipes that are even called their breakfast casserole, like Christmas casserole, or Christmas breakfast casserole. So anyway, I was just going to suggest that, just in knowing that, a lot of times, even if you don't have guests, even if you're just wanting to create a hearty breakfast on a Saturday morning, but you don't want to be up all morning, spending the time in the kitchen, that's a good way to have something ready to go that's very hearty and that you can eat on for days. It makes a good sized serving.
That's wonderful.
You mentioned fruit.
I did.
Really more in terms of the summer months and the seasonality of that.
Yep.
But there is
something we're known for in the South.
Something we're known for that involves fruit that has gotten such a bad name, such a bad rap. I almost feel bad for the fruitcake.
The fruitcake of the holidays. Well, I'm not a fan. So I have to say that up front. We're going to talk about this because it's Southern. But
you have to talk about a fruitcake on Christmas.
And that's typically candied fruit. So we're talking not fresh fruit, but candied.
Yeah.
And lots of nuts, which we also have a lot of in the South.
Yes, that's true.
And so I think that's why this became popular.
Okay.
We're very resourceful. We don't have a lot of extra money, so we come up with these ways to reinvent. And I'm sure that candied fruit looks really, it does look pretty.
It does.
When you bake it in a cake.
Yes.
And many of them will have red and green cherries on top.
Yes.
And so it's very festive looking.
Yeah.
But there's some people that really love it. I've heard people say, oh, you just haven't had a good one.
That's true. I've heard that a lot. Because I've had a lot of dry. It's the dryness that gets me every time.
So I wanted to mention a couple of places that supposedly theirs are really, really good. Now, again, I'm not a fruitcake fan, so I'm just going to tell you what others say.
Okay.
And Laura Beth, I think you found one as well. That
I found one that claims to be the fruitcake capital, but it's not the same as the one you found. So I don't know if this is a known rivalry or if we're just stirring the pot.
Well, we'll just tell you what we found in our limited research. Southern Supreme is the name of the one I found.
Okay, where is it?
Bears Creek, North Carolina.
Okay.
And I looked it up. It's about 40 minutes west of Asheboro.
Okay.
All right. So theirs is called Old Fashioned Nutty Fruitcake. And what I thought was interesting, this woman who started the company, her name's Berta Scott, and she was a hairdresser in that town. Mm-hmm. And in the 1980s, she would make her fruitcake for her clients for Christmas.
Okay.
And serve it there in her little hairdresser studio. Everybody ranted and raved about this fruitcake.
Okay.
And so she, in a time of need in 1990, needed to make some more money. So she started a business out of her sister's garage.
Okay.
And they have since, in 1990 was when she got a building to do this out of, instead of doing it in her sister's garage.
Okay.
And they've added on 8 times since.
Whoa.
Because it keeps getting so, bigger and bigger.
Whoa.
So they make 215,000 pounds of fruitcake each year.
215,000
pounds.
Okay.
And her saying is, Southerners love nuts, so there's very little fruit in hers, but lots of nuts.
I would agree with that.
So
that would be my taste
I might want to try hers, just because that sounds better to me.
Yeah.
But that was one of the ones I found.
So what's the name of the bakery again?
Southern Supreme.
Southern Supreme. Okay.
There you go.
Well, I'm sure they ship, right? I don't know if...
Good question. I don't know.
Because, when are we going to be in that area? Maybe not, but if they would ship, I'd be willing to try it. Well, I found in the small town of Claxton, Georgia, that there's 2 bakeries that make more than 4 million pounds.
So this might be
of fruitcake each year.
This is the big dog.
This is Claxton Bakery,
as we would say in the South, the big dog. The big dog.
Yeah. So both of the bakeries in town say that Claxton's the fruitcake capital.
Okay.
Of the world, despite a similar claim by a company in Corsicana, Texas.
Okay.
So anyway, those the bakeries that do this, that make fruitcakes and are really, pushing that as one of their sort of front forerunners or whatever, clearly they're prideful of it. Because
that's right. Well, Texas, first of all, I'll say I've never met a person from Texas I didn't like. That's true. I love my Texans. But they think they do everything bigger and better. And pecans are so popular out of Georgia that I'm thinking I can see how they would be the capital.
Yeah.
That somewhere in Georgia would be the capital.
Yeah.
But keep going.
Well, I think this bakery's been going since 1910.
Okay.
In Claxton, Georgia.
Right.
So, it would be any of these. It sounds like would be worth at least trying, because I have not sampled any of these. And so, if they're selling that many pounds, thousands of pounds, millions of pounds, it's got to be good.
And one other thing I should say: many fruitcakes have bourbon in them.
Yes, that's true.
I wondered why I didn't say that.
The one you mentioned was the old-fashioned nutty cake.
Yeah, I don't know if that's meaning old-fashioned as in bourbon or just old-fashioned as in, doesn't that sound cute?
That's
that
true.
It's old-fashioned?
That's
but
true.
Anyway, so Yeah, I would say that would be another reason that's popular, in the South, is using what we have, and bourbon makes everything taste better, if you ask me. So, but one place I have visited, but darn it, the gift shop was closed and I didn't get to try the fruitcake, was this place in Kentucky called Abbey Gethsemane. And it was built in 1848.
Abbey as in...
An abbey,
like
a Catholic...
A monastery. Okay.
Monks live there.
Okay.
And it is absolutely beautiful. It's called Trappist, Kentucky, 15 miles south of Bardstown.
We've been to Bardstown.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, but it's 15 miles is what I've looked on the map, but it's 15 like country miles. I mean, this is not a place you would just happen to be driving by.
Which is probably intentional.
Lovely. Exactly.
They're wanting to be secluded.
They're wanting to have a nice, beautiful, quiet space.
Yeah.
In fact, there's hiking trails there. You can do retreats there for weekends or even weeknights and stay on the property. Obviously, it's very modest, twin bed kind of accommodations. But they do silent retreats.
I have heard of this. I've heard of the silent retreat. Yeah. So for anywhere from, I think, like 48 to 72 hours, somewhere in that range. I mean, you are not talking. Speaking. You are not checking in with home. You are not...
Yeah, so it's an interesting concept. A lot of people like to go and have that quiet. And they even have, there's lots of different, there's masses you can go to because it is a Catholic monastery. So I went to a mass and got to see the property, but the gift shop was closed. And so I was bummed because they're known for their fruitcakes and fudge.
Wow.
And you can look this place up. I didn't write down their email, their website, but it's Abbey Gethsemane in Trappist, Kentucky. And you can order online if you want to try one of their fruitcakes or their fudge.
Okay.
So
that's very interesting. That sounds like, we've mentioned some good bakeries that I might want to ship to me to try, but that sounds like a full experience. I'd actually like to go.
And, just another reason to go to Bardstown and go to some of the bourbon distilleries that are nearby. Lots to do if you're, in a drivable proximity to Bardstown.
True.
It's a cool place to visit. So you might want to add Abbey Gethsemane to your stops.
That's cool. How uniquely Southern.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. So wanted to mention those for fruitcake lovers.
And fruitcakes can be shared year round. So we're at Christmas, but that's not to say that these are only available at Christmas.
I think it's not that pretty candied fruit that makes it feel Christmassy because it has that pretty look too.
Yeah.
Serving it on your table, but you could do that anytime.
It might even be fun to show up in the spring with a fruitcake. Throw everybody off their
how people do Christmas in July.
That's true.
You could have your fruitcake in July.
Show up to the next church potluck with your fruitcake. Well, you wanted to mention
a couple things. One, our beautiful picking at the beginning and end of our podcast is done by Rob Ikes.
Yes.
And he is going to be, I'm so proud of them, they get to play the Grand Ole Opry at the Ryman, the home of the original Grand Ole Opry.
Where you'd want to hear it.
That's right. So they're going to be playing on January the 5th at the Ryman. He and Trey Hensley,
Rob Ikes, Trey Hensley.
Yeah, together. So check them out if you're able to get over to the Ryman.
Okay. Tickets are on sale now, I'm sure.
Yeah, and you can hear more of his beautiful pickin' music. So wanted to mention that.
That seems like the right venue to see him in. Yeah. So I would love to do that. If anyone wants to gift me some tickets.
That's right. That's right. We would love to go. And then I had something, it's Christmas. And so I just wanted to read a little something Christmassy.
So settle in with a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Or if you like hot tea, if that's your preference. Or if it's more
hot cranberry drink from our prior episodes that you've made for your family or yourself today.
Get settled into a comfy place in your home, or if you're in your vehicle. Just quiet yourself to enjoy this last bit of Christmas cheer we wanted to share with you.
So this is from a book called The Merriment of Christmas, that life book put out, and I just wanted to share this with you guys. The magic of Christmas is a powerful magic indeed. It transforms ordinary city streets into fanciful avenues of multicolored lights. It inspires the tone-deaf to join in merry carols. It can soften the heart of a Scrooge. Christmas magic reunites scattered families, causes perfect strangers to greet one another, and fills up the churches. And the magic continues to work season after season. Miracles happen only to those who believe in them, says an old French proverb. At Christmas time, people enjoy being credulous. The very atmosphere tingles with anticipation of wishes that might come true. At Christmas, man recaptures some of the light-hearted faith of childhood, when it was easy to believe in Santa driving his reindeer across the skies, when it was even possible to hear, if you listened really closely, the faint jingle of his sleigh bells in that endless night of waiting for Christmas Day to dawn. For this is a time of anticipation. Excitement builds as each new sign of Christmas appears. Store windows are decorated. Spruce and fir trees make forests of parking lots. Salvation Army bands play. Carols on street corners. The community tree glows in the courthouse lawn or village green. In schools and churches, rehearsals begin for nativity plays and oratorios. In homes, Christmas cards are addressed, parties planned, cookies decorated. As Christmas Day draws nearer, it seems that almost everyone is waiting for something. For the snow to fall, for the arrival of the exciting annual package from relatives far away, for the thrill of bringing home the Christmas tree and rediscovering in the attic or hall closet beloved Christmas ornaments. Now is the time when children reveal their impossible desires. Little girls are not afraid to ask for ponies. Little boys dream of spaceships that will really fly to the moon. Even sensible adults are caught up in the spirit of what might be. A vision of perfect family happiness is part of the season, and they plunge willingly into all sorts of preparations and plans in order to give this priceless gift on Christmas Day.
Well, thank you for welcoming us into your home on this special Christmas Day. We look forward to more time with you in 2019.
Yes.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.